We'll call this meeting to order for August 25th, 2025, the regular council meeting. I will begin with a land acknowledgement. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. Okay, is there any additions to the agenda this afternoon? No, Mr. Mayor, there's not. Nothing? Okay. So I will ask for a motion. Maryland's Councillor Scott, seconder, please. Councillor Jorgensen. All in favor? Opposed? Anybody have any conflicts of interest on the agenda this afternoon? Seeing none, thank you. Before we go on, Councillor McGuinness sends her regrets for the meeting here today. So she asked me to mention that. So, hey, we have now our public acknowledgement section. Before we go around the table and do our individual ones, I'm going to ask, we have a couple of presentations to the former mayor and former Councillor Herperger. So I will just briefly read my little spiel that I have, and then we'll get them to come on up to the front and we'll present them with a plaque and thank you and take a picture. So thank you. I'll start with Councillor Herperger. Kelly served one term on council from 2020 to 2024. Part of her duties was representing the citizens of Humboldt and council on the REACT board and the Lanigan-Delwood Creek Watershed Authority, which are sometimes boards that can be a little conflicting, I would say, maybe for the city. So it was good to have her representing us on those boards and doing a bang-up job representing our council and the community. Kelly was, after her retirement from her day job, she was busy traveling, and she showed her dedication to council often by zooming in at wee hours of the morning from certain different locations throughout the world. So we appreciate her dedication to that and her service for the community and her service to the citizens of Humboldt and council here. So thanks, Kelly. And Michael served one term on council from 2016 to 2020, and then again as was elected mayor in 2020 to 2024. Michael was very dedicated to the community, especially the less fortunate in our community, as he was often doing things that were above and beyond, I think, as a mayor for those less fortunate in our community, and we appreciate the work that he did with that. Michael, it was always a good to work with you as a councillor and as a mayor. You certainly brought some humor to this position, and I think you hold the record for the loudest gavel bang to start a meeting off before the meeting. So appreciate all that you've done for Humboldt and our community over the years, and wish you luck with your future for both of you. So thank you. So come on up, and we're going to present a plaque to each of you, and Angie will take pictures and we'll go from there. So Kelly, you're first. So let's say this. We had issues with Roger with reflection, didn't we?
Yes.
Are we good?
You got it.
Good.
Got it cased. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And it was flat.
Thank you very much. Perfect. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. And as Mayor Behill would always say, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you don't want to, you can duck out the side. So
Thank you, guys.
yes, thank you. Take care. Good night. Okay, we'll keep going here. Public acknowledgements. I'll open the floor for any of the councillors that may have a public acknowledgement. I see Councillor Sermacheski has her hand up, so go ahead.
Okay, so for myself, hunting and fishing for youth is becoming a lost art. And so the 2024 Provincial Angling and Henry Kelsey Big Game Awards were recently presented. And 12-year-old Alexis Chinsky received the Junior Northern Pike Award. She caught and released a 24-pound, 10-ounce Northern Pike. So congratulations to her on her accomplishment.
Good.
I just have one more quick one.
Yeah.
So I just would like to say a thank you to our community safety officers. Well, and to Fire Chief Kuznika as well, Justin and Bruce, that this morning I had the opportunity to do a ride along, which I strongly encourage that when it's offered to you, to please go along on the ride along. That it did provide me with an appreciation and a far better understanding of the roles and the responsibilities of our CSOs. And I'm looking forward to working with Protective Services to enhance services to keep our community safe. So thank you very much for spending the morning with me.
Good. Anyone else? Councillor Rowe.
I've got a few here. I will start off by recognizing that George Armstrong was assigned by the Saskatoon Hilltops and is joining them for their football season this year. And I think we might have forgotten to mention the golf course with Saskatchewan Amateur Tournament. So big shout out to the people there and all the volunteers who did such a wonderful job. I wasn't there to see, so I thought I'd better do some research, make sure. And sure enough, as I expected, everything went along very well. And lastly, congratulations to Evan Greff, who bought direct surplus liquidation, former student at HCI, former Humboldt resident who's coming back to raise a family here. So best wishes to him.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? I have a couple that I think maybe Councillor McGuinness would have probably mentioned, but I'd like to do a shout out to the Humboldt Bid and the Chamber for putting on a wonderful street fest again this year. We were able to attend a number of the events, and again, if we would have had a little better cooperation from Mother Nature, it seems like every time we have an event in Humboldt, some wrath comes down and be either rain or cold or whatever. But it was very well attended, and I think the people of the community and surrounding area enjoyed the events for the weekend. There's that one. And then I would also like to do a shout out. I was going to mention the golf tournament as well. So I think some of the comments I heard back from the attendees and from the organizers is there was a lot of really good comments on our course. I think this was probably the best marketing we could have done on that course, because you had golfers coming from all over the province that had never really been to Humboldt and golfed our course before, and we're very impressed. And I'm assuming they're going to be doing some word of mouth out there advertising for our course here in the community. So thanks to everyone involved there. So, and the third one, I'd like to mention everyone involved with Humboldt Bronco Memorial Golf Tournament. Again, the weather didn't cooperate and they weren't able even to golf either of the 2 days, but with all of the participants, they went ahead with the supper and the silent auction and all the festivities that went along with it, and they had a very good turnout. They had very few people not participating that came out for golfing, and they had a very wonderful 2 days here. So kudos to everybody for the organization on that event as well. So that turns over a lot of donations to our community as well. So kudos to them. So thank you. Okay, we will move on. Okay, we have a public hearing this afternoon. So I will look for a mover and a seconder to go into a public hearing, please. Councillor Cordy, Councillor Rowe, all in favor? And that is carried. So, so I will turn it over to this acting city clerk. Oh, for your report. Okay, sorry. Mover and a seconder for the report coming from the acting city clerk, please. Councillor Jorgensen, Councillor Sermacheski, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Section 55 of the Planning and Development Act, public notice is to be provided if a discretionary use application is to be considered by council. That Section 55 also stipulates that the properties within 75 meters of the boundary must be notified. The city received a discretionary use application for an educational institute at 10225 8th Avenue. Public notice was posted at the City Hall on the city's website for 2 clear weeks prior to this evening's meeting, as well as the property owners within the 75 meters were notified. Those wishing to submit written comments on the matter had until Thursday. We did not receive any written submissions by that deadline. There was one inquiry received for clarification. If there's any questions, I can take those.
Okay, questions? Seeing none, I think we're okay then. So we've had a mover and a seconder to adopt the report. Did you have something to add? No. Okay. All in favor? And that carried. Thank you. Okay. So I will need a motion to
just an acknowledgement. There's nobody in the gallery.
yeah, there was nobody in the gallery to speak on it as well. So, okay. Okay, motion to resume meeting, please. Councillor Rowe, Councillor Jorgensen, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. And we have the meeting minutes from the July 28th, 2025 regular council meeting. So I will look for a mover and a seconder at the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 28th, 2025 be approved and recorded and circulated. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sermacheski, Councillor Cordy, all in favor? That is carried. Okay. Okay, and I also have a mover and a seconder required for the special meeting of council held August 11th, 2025. So a motion that the minutes of the special meeting of council held August 11th, 2025 be approved as recorded and circulated. Motion, please. Councillor Jorgensen, Councillor Scott, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, we have a delegation with us this afternoon, and that's Audrey Dorr, and she's from the Ministry of Corrections, Policing, and Public Safety. That's going to give us a presentation this afternoon. So if you want to just make sure you hit the mic button there so that we can hear what you're saying, and it'll go to the live stream. Oh, there we go.
Red button means I'm live.
You're live, yeah.
Okay, thank
Good,
you very
thank you,
much,
Audrey.
Mr. Mayor, for the introduction. My name is Audrey Dory. I'm a program manager with policy and governance with the Provincial Protective Services branch of the Ministry of Corrections, Policing, and Public Safety. I'm very happy to be here. My role is policy and governance. So to ensure compliance within the police regs, the police discipline regs, the CSO policy that guides the CSO program for the province. I just wanted to start by addressing the lovely community you have. Driving in, it is very evident that there is significant pride in community. The manicured lawns, the beautiful flowers. I pull up and there's 2 community safety officer vehicles very visible to the public. I walked out of my vehicle and I seen Special Constable Durant having a visit with somebody in the community just outside. So I think that in itself speaks very highly of the commitment that you all have to the community and to the safety of your community. I'm very appreciative to be here and to talk with you today. I have been told I have about 15 minutes. I'm a bit of a talker, so I've asked, for somebody to kind of cue me when my time is up. I did bring a presentation. I will be flying through it. However, I have included it for dissemination amongst mayor and council. So if you do have any questions at the end, Mike has my contact information. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. But so if we can just cue that presentation. So the intent of today's purpose, I guess, for why I'm here is I see the impact that the community safety officer program is having in your community. But I've also worked quite closely with Mike and with Justin and also soon to be your new CSO designate, Bruce Humboldt. I want to point out the level of professionalism and community involvement hasn't gone unnoticed by the ministry. That comes from the CSO program in Humboldt. So I wanted to take the opportunity to not only mention that, but also run through the CSO program in itself to provide a bit more familiarization and information on the program. So with that, we can start. So the program itself was designed in 2015. It was fully implemented in 2015, I should say. It took some time to develop. It was developed with our ministry, with SARM, SUMA, the RCMP, and Saskatchewan's Association of Chiefs of Police to basically fill a gap in public safety. To fill a gap in terms of providing that visibility component that unfortunately much of our province faces a lack of visibility by the RCMP or police of jurisdiction simply due to lack of staffing. So it's provided to communities to offer an enhanced police service that is a low risk but high priority. So it's attending to calls and calls for service and proactive community engagement to inform the public, to address local public safety concerns, and also provide support to local police agencies. So as mentioned, the purpose is to provide high priority with low risk harm enforcement services, but it also recognizes the fact that it's not a one size fits all program. It cannot be successful until it meets the needs of each individual community, and every community's safety priorities are different. We know that many community safety activities actually don't require the service of a police officer. And when I say that, there's always questions, kind of those looks of, oh, really? Well, think about it. Give me one example that you can think of that maybe doesn't need a police officer. Anybody? Mike, Silliman. Yeah, for sure. By law enforcement, attending community events like the wonderful golf event that was recently held, right? Mm-hmm. Providing that visibility in the public to deter crime, to speak with the community members, to answer questions. So by utilizing the CSO services, it allows RCMP and police of jurisdiction to prioritize those more criminal enforcement activities. What is a CSO? Well, they're employed directly by a community, so the ministry does not employ them. They fulfill a range of duties, so it can include bylaw enforcement, it can include traffic safety enforcement, it can include community-based policing services. They are designated special constables under the Police Act by the ministry. Some of their designations could include enforcement of the alcohol and gaming regulations. So handling open liquor. Kids are hanging out somewhere they shouldn't be. Have an open bottle of alcohol, they can ticket that individual. The All-Terrain Vehicle Act, somebody's driving through the community when they shouldn't be, where they shouldn't be. The community safety officer may choose to educate them on the safety of ATV driving and operation, or they can ticket under the ATV Act. The Cannabis Act is enforceable, Highways and Transportation. Mental Health Services Act is also enforceable, Municipalities Act, Snowmobile Act, Tobacco and Vapor Control, Traffic Safety Act. We witnessed an individual driving that had quite a loud muffler going. That's a ticketable offense, and that's a role that the CSO could play and enforce. Additional authorities. CSOs do have 2 criminal code authorities, so that similar to what the RCMP has. However, they are theft and mischief, not in progress, under $5,000. They can attend and investigate non-injury motor vehicle collisions. This could be very advantageous during the winter months. Assisting with search and rescue operations, administering ASDs, which is the approved screening device, testing during a traffic stop for the use of alcohol. Service of legal documents. They can serve subpoenas on behalf of the RCMP. Highways and Transportation Act is also an act that is utilized quite often by CSOs for weights and measures. Due to the infrastructure savings, we know that our roads are beat up on a daily basis, especially I would imagine in farming communities as well. So that's more the enforcement side of a CSO and a CSO's role. When we talk about community safety and well-being and that community engagement, community policing, what does that mean? Well, it could be that your CSO engages with youth at schools. They could do a safety talk. They could provide wellness checks in the community. Maybe we haven't heard from grandma in a few days. She's not answering her phone. She's not answering her door. Can you please do a wellness check? Proactive patrolling, providing that visibility in the community, we know time and time again has proven to deter crime. They can collaborate with internal and external agencies, so they can participate on community safety boards within certain community. We have elder boards, justice boards, as mentioned. They can provide car seat clinics, all sorts of different community-based services to really engage with the public, offer education, and be that source of visibility. I'm not going to go through this slide. It basically just identifies the roles of a police versus a CSO, and then the shared responsibilities, employment of CSOs. So we know that they are employed by a municipality or a First Nation. You as the employer authorize their schedules, the deployment, identify their duties, of course, pursuant to the authorities granted within their special constable appointment. You ensure that they are aware of their rights and responsibilities, and ensure that there is public accountability and compliance within the Police Act. There's also a component of working closely with the police of jurisdiction, which I'll get to in a moment. But CSOs are governed by Part 4 of the Police Act, which means that as the employer, there is a responsibility to ensure compliance. There's a requisite to review their CSO files, to ensure that there's an internal quality assurance, as well as handling any public complaints that might come through. So far, Humboldt has been amazingly well in compliance, and no complaints. When we talk contracted CSO services, this is a big one that I'd like to highlight specifically with Humboldt. You've recently entered into agreements for service with the towns of Lanigan and Watson to provide CSO services. First of all, kudos to you. That speaks very, very highly of your program, because other communities are seeing your CSOs and having that visibility and asking questions. What services do you provide? What can you help us with? How can you help us meet our safety goals? So congratulations on entering into those agreements for service. We know there's got to be a significant effort into exploring alternative services to meet the needs of the public safety goals. RCMP are short-staffed. There will continue to be a staffing issue for years before it gets better. We know that. The CSO program provides that tiered policing model to ensure that the gap is small enough so that we can keep our communities safe. So I'm not sure if there's ideas or plans for expansion, further expansion, but definitely speaks highly of the program itself and of the leadership in the program. Okay. Prosecution, we know a little bit about that. Mike, you've done a fair bit of the prosecution to date. Now that Bruce is coming on, he'll likely fill that role as well. Fine revenue. So 75% of the tickets, the fine revenue comes back to the city of Humboldt. 25 is held for administering summary offense proceedings and enforcing the payments. So basically 25% comes back to the province. Just to give you a bit of a stat, I pulled a few stats to give you an idea of what Justin has done in 2024. Guess how many bylaw calls he attended? Anybody? Prize for the best guess, closest guess.
100. 200.
311. 311 calls related to bylaws were attended by one CSO. He did 185 traffic stops. So out of those, you might choose to do the education piece. You might choose to, inform that individual, or you might choose to issue a ticket for the offense. So of those 185 traffic stops, there was 76 tickets issued under the Traffic Safety Act. So very well done on Justin's part. I kind of went off there on a little bit of a tangent, but going back to collaboration. So I spoke briefly about how important it is to work with police of jurisdiction. So this is to ensure that both agencies understand the roles and responsibilities that they play, but also how they can work together. Huge aspect of any CSO program, program success rather, is very dependent on the level of support that they give to the police of jurisdiction and that they get. So police assists last year, Justin helped out 18 times when called to help out with the police of jurisdiction. That's great. That's wonderful. So not only is it important to nurture and develop those relationships, but it also ensures that the RCMP are aware of your safety priorities. How can we help the city of Humboldt? What do you need? Do you need more visibility during a certain amount or during a certain time of the year? Do you want to coordinate a bit of a traffic blitz during the Christmas holidays? How can Justin help out? Can he provide delivery of subpoenas? Can he provide traffic control during those blitzes? So again, it is important, but it does appear that the relationship is continuing to be nurtured and is a positive one. Initial steps to start the program, I'm not going to go over. You've obviously demonstrated the need for the program. You've identified a safety and wellness plan. The only thing I would recommend is that plan be revisited, if not on an annual basis, at least every 2 years, to ensure that the program is sufficiently meeting the needs of the community. How much does it cost? You're probably well aware. I don't think we need to go over that, but it's there if you need. CSO candidate applicant requirements, well aware again. I should mention the CSO induction course. So our fall course just commenced today. I was at Sask Polytech in Prince Albert this morning. We welcomed 12 new CSO candidates from all over the province, including the File Hills First Nation Police Service, Prince Albert Police Service, Flying Dust First Nation, Beardies and Okemos, as well as the City of North Battleford. There's a few more in there, I'm sure, but it looks like a really great group of candidates, and it's wonderful to see that employers are expanding their programs and hiring those individuals that have the passion to improve public safety. A couple of the topics of the course are listed here. There's a huge focus on scenario-based learning. So one of the counselors mentioned that she was able to join a ride-along with the CSO this afternoon, or this morning rather. Very important to see firsthand what a CSO does, how they do it, how they approach a vehicle, the right way for note-taking, to everything from keeping aware of your surroundings while you're issuing the ticket to how you turn the wheels when you're performing a traffic stop. It is truly amazing. And this 8-week program provides the CSO candidates to provides enough training to be fully qualified to perform their duties. So, and I should mention actually that it was recently extended from 8 weeks, or rather 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And that was to accommodate a little more curriculum and to allow for more of those scenario-based learning practices. CSOs, we know, do not carry firearms. They are authorized to carry OC spray, baton, and cuffs, and they have to recertify every three years as part of their CSO special constable appointment. So a few pictures of the scenario-based learning, control tactics, uniform and vehicles. So basically those pictures of the vehicles are to really showcase that no matter where you are in the province of Saskatchewan, you will be able to recognize a community safety officer. Benefits, well, we know community ownership of a safety model that really does meet your needs, reduced calls for local police involvement, reduced crime due to that visibility aspect and community engagement, increased access to justice, economic and financial returns. So you're investing in your community members, you're providing employment for your community members, but you're also seeing a return on those investments through the fine collections that you get from the tickets. All in all, it equals a safer community. There's a list of the CSO programs in the province. Currently, there are 28 locations in full operation, with 35 being at some stage of development. There are 79 appointed CSOs. And that is it. My contact information is on the next slide. Please feel free, if you have any questions, comments, reach out. I think I covered everything that I wanted to, but does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for presenter? You got it down to 18 minutes. That's pretty good. So, yes, so if there's no questions from council, I guess I just would like to thank you for coming and filling us in on a lot of the things. I think a lot of it we already knew, but it's nice to have it coming from somewhere other than our staff telling us, because it's refreshing, I guess, to see that we're not the only community doing this. And I think our community needs to know that. And the part that you mentioned about uh, filling RCMP positions is not just a local thing. We've struggled with that since I've been on council, which is, getting on 20 years now. So it's one of those things where, you can do a program like this and take some of the heat off of the RCMP officers and fill in some of those gaps, like you mentioned, and provide our community with some a tailored to our community concept, I guess, that we can, do things that council can knows they want to address, but maybe the RCMP are busy doing other things. So it's,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's very well received by council, and so thank you
Great.
for
Well,
coming.
thank you again for the opportunity. I did want to just comment on one item that you mentioned about community engagement or community education. I'm not sure if to what level. I mean, the CSO program in Humboldt has been in full operation since 2022. It started, exploration of it in 2021. So at this stage, I would assume that the public is aware of the program. But we do have more resources available for employers if they want to get the word out a little bit. Not better, but just have those resources available. So even the CSOs could be passing out that information when they're engaging with the public. And I can appreciate that Mike does a fantastic job of reporting. You bolster up the reporting a little bit more than most communities do. So I really appreciate seeing the activities, the focus, of that month, some kind of key identified issues, because stats are stats, right? We know numbers tell a story, but really at the end of the day, to really appreciate and understand how important the program is, we need to hear those first accounts. So I think it's very commendable as well, Mike, that you do that every month. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you for coming. And you are also welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you would like. Okay, thank you. Correspondence. So I'll need a motion and a seconder to accept her presentation, please. Councillor Rowe, Councillor Servicheski. Any further questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Correspondence. We have one item to be received for information only. So do I need a motion for this, or we just receive it? Motion, please, to receive Councillor Cordy, Councillor Seconder, Councillor Rowe. Okay, so it's just, we've all been presented with the letter the minutes from the Saskatchewan, our Central Area Transportation Planning Committee meeting minutes from April 23rd, 2025. So unless there's questions, go ahead.
Yeah, just, would it be possible for us to actually get the full minutes? Because what happened all the way through is there's reference to attached reports and they're not.
And they're not
attached.
there.
And so there really was very minimal
Information. Yeah. And I don't know how they send this out. Do they just send the minutes out and that's all we get? Or is there more that we just aren't copied of?
No, they do send the reports too, but they send it's kind of offset. So yeah, I can look into getting the reports that they had previously sent and start including it in these.
Yeah. Okay. And is this the one that we're entitled to go to, or the one that there's two, I guess, overlapping jurisdictions? And is this the one that, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Central Area Transportation area is basically just south of the city of Humboldt and encompasses a lot of Highway 5 after the junction. So a lot of the areas we are interested in are in this area. Yeah. But the city of Humboldt itself proper is actually in the more northern transportation area with Prince Albert and that area. So we've asked, we pay the membership to whichever body it is, so that we can get the minutes of the central area
Yeah,
transportation.
And I know there were some references to Highway 5 in this meeting. It's one of those things where I think that seems to be more pertinent to the city of Humboldt and especially the development of the construction on Highway 5 there. So it's one of those things where I guess as long as we're being made aware of it, but I guess we're not sitting at the table to help get our point across on some of those issues, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, the chair, or sorry, Mr. Mayor, the chairman of this committee is Darren Peterson from one of the RMs just south here that we have a good rapport with, and he's always opened the invitation that if there's anything related to transportation in and around Humboldt, we can certainly get in touch with him, and he'll see if he can add it to this agenda if it's relevant to this committee.
Well, that's good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you all get questions about the work that's being done on Highway 5 and why are they doing this and why are they taking so long? And they did reference the length of how long the project's been dragging on. So it's one of those things that I guess if anybody does have questions or concerns, that they relay them to the city manager and he can pass them along. So, okay. So we have a mover and a seconder. I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. Committee reports. So I will vacate the chair to the deputy mayor to lead us through this one. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Mitch. I guess first up, we have that the minutes of the executive committee meeting held August 11th, 2025 be accepted for information. I get a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Jorgensen and Councillor Scott, thank you. Any questions or anyone to speak on this? It's basically minutes, so any questions? I guess not. So, the question, all in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. That's it. Back to you, Mayor Mitch.
Okay, thank you. That was short and sweet.
Real quick.
We could have had about 10 bylaws for you to trial by fire, as they say, for your
Yeah.
first meeting or doing that. So new business, we have 10.1 is a proclamation of Rail Safety Week. So I have already signed the proclamation for a photo op before the meeting, but I will read the proclamation now. So whereas Rail Safety Week, whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 15th to 21st, 2025. And whereas 261 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2024, resulting in 68 avoidable fatalities and 58 avoidable serious injuries. Whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway right-of-way are private property, enhancing public awareness that the dangers associated with rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws. Will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public-private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, the rail industry, governments, Indigenous communities, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. Whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested City Council to adopt this resolution in supporting of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including our municipality. Now, therefore, I, Rob Minch, Mayor of the City of Humboldt, do hereby proclaim the week of September 15th to 21st, 2025 as Rail Safety Week in the City of Humboldt. Thank you. So I will need a mover and a seconder to adopt that proclamation. Councillor Sermacheski, Councillor Rowe, all in favor? And that chair, thank you. Okay, 10.1. So I will look for the recommendation from the city controller on demand scheduling platform transit services. So resolution 2025 .280 that the city of Humboldt approve the purchase of an on-demand scheduling platform for transit services to Blaze Transit Limited for approximately 107,200 plus applicable taxes. So I will look for a mover and a seconder on this, please. Councillor Cordy, Councillor Scott. Do you want to take us through the report on this, please?
Absolutely. So as you're all aware, the city had secured the Rural Transit Solution Fund grant in 2024. That was for the intent of the purchase of 2 paratransit vans and an on-demand scheduling platform. The city has already acquired the vans. In July, we issued a request for quotation for the scheduling platform, which closed on August 15th and received a single response from Blaze Transit. So the proposed platform is universal with both app and desktop capabilities, with the intent to streamline both ride scheduling, optimize driver assignments, improve route efficiencies, and enhance the experience for both administrative staff and the users. Blaze Transit focuses on communities that are a similar size to Humboldt, and they were also recommended as a provider in the 2021 transit feasibility study that the city had completed. Without getting into all the details of the apps and all the features, the platform can be designed for the future expansion of the services in mind. There's a capability to manage different zones that can be turned on or off, and that can kind of ensure that the platform can be designed to match the current service, but also have the capacity to expand outside while not having to incur any significant costs in the future should the services expand to be that. The procurement of the platform will fall in line with both the city as well as the RTSF grants remaining budgets. And the move to the on-demand scheduling platform and away from just relying on the phone calls that we're currently using will hopefully significantly streamline the processing and scheduling of the rides. We hope that it'll improve the billing process for all staff and hopefully for the riders and the drivers as well. And we believe that it will be beneficial as we expand the transit services beyond the 1 van that they are right now. If there's any questions on this report, I can take those as well.
Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
Mr. Porton, do we have any idea how much the subscription costs are going to be?
I don't know that off the top of my head right now. I do have that information. It wasn't too much annually. It was definitely can absorb it in operations currently. It's not too drastic.
Thank you. And any idea why there's only 1 bid? I know Mr. Mitch has asked this question before, Mr. Jorgensen. It's not a lot of people out there providing the software, or?
There is quite a few. I had reached out to quite probably 5 or 6 different ones. A lot of it is just the size of our fleet. We're 2 vans, and most of them are looking the cost. They're just saying they wouldn't align with our budget. They're looking at $250,000 and looking to do 50, 60 plus units. So they're kind of looking for that smaller company that looks to deal with kind of the smaller size fleets at a budget that we can pallet for sure.
Important for our community to have this, but it's wondered why there's only 1, and that's a good explanation. Thank you.
Other questions? Hey, I did have one, and I know a lot of seniors that use this service, or that may be using it, are not very app friendly, I'll say, or computer literate. In fact, sometimes even having an email address is something that is. So does this tie into the telephone system? You mentioned we're doing it all by telephone right now, and that's the way people are used to doing it. Does this allow for that integration with the phones, or if somebody phones, is it just entered into the system by the person on the phone, or how does that all tie in?
So it won't be a direct tie-in, but there is the ability to still continue taking them through the phone calls. So the app is quite user-friendly, so the driver can still accept a phone call, go in, assign that rider for whatever time they're booking, and still basically be able to do it how we're doing now, but rather than tracking it manually, they can just track it through the app
So-
in the van.
So this is how we'll track the usage. Everything has to go through the app. So it's not only providing a way for people
Yes.
to book a ride, but
So-
it's an internal tracking system as well then.
Yeah, so it's very customizable as well. We receive the transit assistance for people with disabilities grant through the province. Part of that grant needs to know if they're heading for recreational purposes, medical purposes, educational purposes, stuff like that. We can customize the app that when they're selecting a ride, they can also select that. So a lot of the information that we'll be able to export out of this will be very useful when we submit for that grant in particular. But it'll kind of function a lot like the rideshare apps you see. There will be billing through it. You will be able to identify where the van is on its route to pick you up. But yeah, it doesn't completely eliminate. We definitely had communications with Adam as well as trying to make sure that it's very user friendly. So yeah, it is quite. We can still accommodate any riders that want to pick up the phone and phone the driver to book the van pretty seamlessly.
And when do we expect this to be put in place that people can start downloading the app and booking rides? Is there a time frame there?
Right now, so we hope to over the next month, we'll have everything kind of in place to have it quote unquote go live. When it goes live publicly, it'll be a little bit once we ensure that all the staff are comfortable with it as well as the drivers. We can kind of have it turned on behind the scenes before we actually go live publicly with it. So we'll definitely follow up at an executive committee meeting, kind of how the process is going and when it'll go live to the public. There'll definitely be some. We'll work with Angie to get some communication out around that as well to make sure the public is aware of the app, how to use it, and all that as well.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any further questions? I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. So we have a recommendation next on the agenda for the community development coordinator on a discretionary use for an educational institution at 10-25 8th Avenue. And I'll need a motion and a seconder that the discretionary use be approved to operate an educational institution at 10-25 8th Avenue, legally described as block/parcel B, plan 1018133441. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Cordy, seconder, Councillor Jorgensen. Okay, who's gonna take this one? Yomi, okay, perfect.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to quickly summarize. The subject location, as you said, is 1022 8th Avenue and is surrounded by a mix of residential to the north, that's by 9th Avenue. You have commercial establishment to the east. You have a combination of commercial and light industrial properties to the south, and the Visitor Information Center and golf course. The property is a corner lot. It has easy access to the highway and is a major transportation corridor and also has access to the First Street and 9th Avenue. The property was previously used for retail, and the intention is to use it as an educational institution. The definition of educational institution is in the document, which is taken from the zonal bylaw. I'll just put a disclaimer that the discretionary use process focuses strictly on the proposed use of the property, while the review for development is still going to go through the development review process. So,
Okay,
yes.
by the way, Yomi, I think is this your first meeting you've been to? So
Yes.
welcome aboard. You've been here behind the scenes, but welcome to the meeting here tonight. And yeah. Any questions on the application? Go ahead. Councillor Rowe.
Yeah, so I was going to bring this up earlier, but I knew this was going to be an item on the agenda later. One constituent asked for clarification, and I was also curious about this institution's request. We have a sense of who is moving in, what kind of a educational institution this will be, what their Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we have somebody here.
You just hit them all. Just to clarify, Carleton Trail College is currently in negotiations for the purchase of the facility. And one of the key conditions is that we would be able to run it as an educational facility if we're able to get all of the conditions met and be able to proceed with the purchase. So.
Thank you.
And we will keep regardless of which direction this goes, the city will be kept informed of the status. So, thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, further questions? I guess, and I'll bring this up now. We have had some issues, I think, with some of the residents before this this area isn't very pedestrian friendly. I'll just put it that way. There's not many sidewalks there, and there is a trail on the north side of Highway 5. And so I think just if we do approve this, there may be some work that has to be done, maybe a lighted pedestrian crossing in that area or something. That's already been brought up by people. I've heard it before, and I think some of the other councillors have as well, that it's not a very easy task crossing that highway at that end of the city. So it's something that as a council we may have to look at in the future if we approve this today. So okay. So any further questions? Seeing none, we have a mover and a seconder to proceed with this. So I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Is carried. Thank you. Approved. So we will be looking forward to hearing at some point progress and go from there. So okay.
City staff as well, council go faster around this.
Okay.
Very much appreciated.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we'll keep moving right along here. So we have another one, a recommendation from the manager of development and marketing on the 101st Street lot draw. So I leave a motion or a mover and a seconder that the lot draw rules and processes be approved. So Jarrett, you're gonna lead us through this one. Sorry, mover and seconder, please. I asked for it, but I never got it. Councillor Serwachewski, seconder. Councillor Scott. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so administration is recommending to have the law draw rules and process approved. Not much has changed from the previous meeting on August 11th to the process that was discussed, but for the purpose of this meeting, I'll reiterate the key rules. So the application period will be accepted from August 14th, 2025 to September 4th, 2025. There is an application fee of $1,500 that is required to be paid to the city in the form of certified check or bank draft. The fee will be applied to the purchase prices of successful applicants and refunded to unsuccessful applicants without penalty. Applicants will have to declare if they are a contractor or an individual. Individuals, there's only one application per household. Contractors are restricted to a maximum of 3 applications controlled by their GST number. Draw date will occur on September 9th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Uniplex conference room. Lot selections, successful applicants will be given a 10-minute appointment based on the order their name was drawn in. They can have a proxy for this. And some of the terms of sale, 10% deposit is required. That is GST is an addition for individuals. That must be presented to the city within 3 business days of signing the agreement. Full payment is required within 3 months of the agreement. A building permit must be obtained within 6 months of taking possession of the lot. Hard surface driveways and landscaping must be completed within 6 months of the closing permits, and lots cannot be assigned or transferred without express consent from the city. That is it.
Okay. Questions? I know we had a really good discussion on this at the executive meeting. There was lots of questions asked and a few concerns, I think. Looks like is is this the appropriate time to go through the what's the technical name for it? Architectural, is that's another one coming? So, okay, so as for this one, go ahead, Councillor Scott.
I guess my concern was around sort of the definitions that we're going to be using on this in terms of, like, for example, a contractor in this process. Do they have to be incorporated? If not, how do we separate them from an individual who only gets one shot or a contractor who gets three? Or are we requiring them to be an incorporated entity? We're leaving some people off the table if we're requiring incorporation. And yet I think it's very difficult to identify who these folks are. It's even the whole idea of family. Like, I thought, okay, is the 25-year-old who's living in his parents' basement but paying rent, is he a member of the family? Or so does he get a choice or get a bid potentially along with a parent? Or I don't know, like I say, I just have some concerns about the broadness of those definitions and how we qualify them.
That's legitimate concern. Go ahead.
Yeah, so with regards to the incorporation, when you're dealing with a contractor, there's three levels of business. There's sole proprietorship, partnership, and incorporation. Each of those business structures would be guaranteed a GST number when they're filing their taxes. So that's kind of how we would recognize them. So if you're any business that is performing in that industry, you would definitely have this sort of information readily available. So as long as you're making over a certain threshold in a year, which is, I'd imagine most contractors are. With regards to the renter in the basement, the youth, we wanted to keep that, like, if the renter applies in the household, why would the parents be applying, I guess, if that makes sense? Exactly, right? So we wanted to keep it down to one application in that process, so we don't have any situations where we have the parents getting a lot and the son getting a lot at the same time, and then they're penalized for it. So then it keeps the issues at a minimum for that purpose.
Yeah, go ahead, City Manager.
Yeah, the family relationship one is the dicier one of the two to try and distinguish. It was meant to be just individuals are permitted one, and not to try and allow too many instances where people try to compound how many applications they get in. The penalty comes not so much necessarily at this instance, but it'll come with future if people are found to be trying to mislead the city in their applications. They could be excluded from future lot draw applications. So that's really where the penalty comes. But we recognize it might be tough to distinguish some of those. So we are going to probably be learning a little bit through this lot draw process to incorporate in any subsequent ones and see if we need to tighten up any of the rules in any of the subsequent lot draw applications.
Yeah, good question and good answers. This is something we haven't done for a number of years, and it's one of those things where, like I said, we're kind of starting from, even though we've done it before, we're starting from scratch here, I think. So hopefully things go smoothly and we're not having to penalize people for trying to, get around the rules, I guess. So, okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. So I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is great. Thank you. Okay. And then we have a recommendation from the manager of development and marketing on the 101st Street architectural controls. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder. The council approve the attached architectural controls. Mover and a seconder, please. Councilor Rowe, seconder. Councilor Jorgensen. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so admin recommends that council approves the attached architectural controls. Due to the concerns that were raised by council in the previous meeting, we have relaxed some of the controls to allow more liberty for the potential purchasers of the 101st Street lots. I'd like to quickly just point your attention to the complementary exterior finishes. That's on the second page. So what we had there originally was 100 square feet of complementary finish. We did reduce that down to 50 square feet. And we also kind of opened up the interpretation of that. So it can be different products as well. We just want to see some sort of complementary finish on the exterior of these homes to enrich the area and still follow in suit with what's already existing. So we felt this was the proper move to allow those liberties for the potential purchasers.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is one of the things we had discussion about at the executive meeting. And I think, like I've seen again, some recent houses going up that had, you know, horizontal siding with a section of vertical that was complementary. And I think it breaks up the monotony of just all straight siding on the house. And it may qualify in this case, it looks like. So that's one of those things where I think as design trends change, I think people are, you know, maybe looking for slightly different choices, I guess. So that's good to see that that was an amendment there. So, okay. Any other questions on this one? Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Question all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. And then we have the next item on the agenda is a recommendation from the finance manager on natural gas contract authorization. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder that the city manager be authorized to enter into a natural gas supply contract with a term of up to 5 years. So mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Cordy, seconder, Councillor Serbicheski. Okay, city manager, go ahead. On this one.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Natural gas markets are a little different than most of the other things that we'd be purchasing. Again, maybe I should back up. The city of Humboldt has the opportunity to purchase natural gas supplies from private, basically wholesalers for terms of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, up to 5 years. Some of them will be fixed prices through that entire duration, some fixed prices through each of those 1 year segments. So there's a lot of variability in how the city can choose to purchase its natural gas over a period of time. But what it does do by this option is it does provide us the certainty of what our natural gas prices will be for a series of years into the future. It really helps out us in our budgeting exercises because we're not at the whim of the current natural gas markets, which could be going up and down throughout the year. The downside of this opportunity is these wholesalers, natural gas wholesalers that we can purchase from, they buy off the futures markets themselves. And so what they're doing is they're basically giving the price today of what they see in the natural gas futures today on the market. So they want a very short turnaround from the time that they present their bids to the time that they are awarded the contract. So what we've had is we've had an RFP open for a number of days. I think it's August 12th, I think is when we issued a RFP to make all the vendors aware of this opportunity to provide us a price. And we're expecting they will provide us prices tomorrow morning. And if you provide this authorization to administration, we will then award those contracts tomorrow. By doing it this quick as a turnaround, there's less of a risk factor buffer that's built in. So we're going to get probably the best price that they can get for us tomorrow. Will be very close to that. And there won't be a big profit margin that they'll put in there for risk related reasons. So this goes a little bit outside of what our normal purchasing policy would require us to do. But in order to get the benefit of this type of a natural gas contract, it's either this option or we would have to be calling a special council meeting to award it on a very short notice that way. So we have exercised this practice, I think, 2 or 3 times already with the city, and it seems to work all right and gives council some awareness of what's going on and allows administration to award those tenders promptly for the best cost savings we can get. And I can take any questions. Mayor.
Questions on that? I think we had this explained very well at our executive committee meeting, and it's one of those things where we have the opportunity to buy other than Sask Energy on these, and if we can get a bit of a break for the community. I think I equated it to trying to lock in your mortgage at a fixed rate. It's a similar process, and it's a little, I guess, a little scary when you're pulling the trigger, but it's one of those things where, you know, like I say, we hope for the best, and I think we've made out fairly well over the years on these types of things. So, yeah. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any further questions? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Wastewater. We have a recommendation from the Director of Public Works that the wastewater treatment system construction update. So we'll be receiving a report. So I'll look for a motion that the report be accepted for information and filed. So mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Jorgensen, Councillor Scott. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you. So yeah, I wanted to update council on a bit of what's going on with the wastewater treatment system. The good news is that the finish line is now in sight, which is a fantastic thing for the majority of the wastewater treatment system. The first cell in the large cell system is now being filled with wastewater from the old lagoon system. And shortly, the other cells will also be filled once they get their sand ballast in. And the Sager cells, which are part of the system as well, are almost complete, and they'll be starting to be filled very soon. And the purpose is to get them filled before the winter, so the right bacteria can create or develop in the systems. So it's moving along very well. Same with lift 1 and 4; they're under construction and moving forward. So we're quite happy with where everything's at. In addition to that, as you know, this was just over a $40 million project. We were notified and we signed the contracts with the ministry that we're receiving an additional $2,039,236 as part of the ISIP grant. So that's pretty significant because, as you know, we were going to be taking on about $15 million worth of cost with this project for the city's portion. And that's about a 13% savings that we're getting on our portion of the expenses of this project. So we were pretty excited, and in total, we're looking at receiving about $27 million from the provincial and federal levels of government. So it's pretty significant, and we just want to update council on that news. So I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions for the director? Councillor Rowe, go ahead.
Mr. Bergquist, looking at the page 49 of the PDF anyway, it's the change orders to date. And just making sure you feel comfortable as to how that's developing with that $400,000 contingency. We're still within that comfort zone. If you could provide your thoughts on that, please.
The contingency is now consumed. Between all those change orders, from little things here and there to engineering increases, that has been consumed. So our contingency is gone on that particular portion of the project. However, at this current state in the project, we're not anticipating anything significant to come about. So we're moving on to the commissioning side of things. Of course, the engineering side kind of crept up there too, but that was because there was a lot more involvement needed just to make sure that we're getting the product that we are purchasing and that everything works as it should. So there's just a bit more time involvement there. So yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? I had a similar question on that. I think once you total all those overruns up, it was like about $560,000 or something. So how is that? Where is that money going to come from? That's just going to be grouped into the total cost and taken off of the grant that we got and the money we contribute as a city then, or how does that work?
Well, that is mostly correct. So basically, on a large project like this, we get back about 27 million, but whatever the difference is, we do have to pay for. So that'll become either debt and or however we pay it off through utility rates and so on and so forth. So when we do exceed it, yes, we do take on additional debt, which was anticipated to some degree. A $400,000 contingency is actually quite low on a $40 million project. So it's what's that, 1%, if I'm not mistaken. So normally you have about a 10% contingency on a large project like this. So it was low to begin with, just because costs were coming in aggressive or I should say the bids were coming in higher than we anticipated at the original onset of this project. So we were left with what the contingency was in the bid itself, but the contracts itself. And for the most part, we're doing pretty well for a large project like this. And we're quite happy with where it's at.
Okay. Okay. Further questions? Okay. Yeah, I think I did have, I took a drive by the project here on the weekend. So there is wood chips on top of the Sager cells. That's what's the purpose of that? Is that for insulation, or is that what that's for?
Yes, that's exactly it. So two components. There's a lot of aeration inside those Sager cells.
Yeah.
So it needs to breathe because all that air is going to be coming out.
Okay.
And yes, the most important is insulation. You can either use wood chips or you can use recycled shredded tires. In this situation, they went with the wood chips, and it provides enough insulation to keep it above zero so it can do its processes and remove ammonia.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So we have mover and a seconder. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you. 10.8 is the recommendation from the Director of Protective Services on the approval for an additional fire department utility vehicle and sole source purchase of a second CSO bylaw vehicle. So I will look for a mover and a seconder that the city of Humboldt proceed with the purchase of a 1-ton pickup truck for the fire department at an estimated purchase price of $100,000, including emergency equipment, plus taxes and fees, with 50% of the purchase price paid to the city of Humboldt from the Humboldt and District Fire Protection Association. And number 2, a sole source purchase of an SUV for the use as a second community safety officer CSO bylaw vehicle at a cost of $35,000 plus an estimated $10,000 in emergency equipment plus taxes and fees. So is that everything? Yeah, it is. Okay, all in favor? Or sorry, motion, please. Getting ahead of myself here. I'm sure there's going to be some discussion on this one.
All right.
Movers, Councillor Sarachewski, Councillor Cordy. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So currently the fire department uses our larger apparatus for the moving of personnel, especially when it comes to smaller events, similar to such as grass fires or even just different lesser emergency, I guess, the duties that we do. And right now we utilize our rescue unit, which is unit R11, replacement cost about 1.5 million. So we do want to extend the life of that one as long as possible. So partly to do with that one would be utilizing that one as a grass fire unit. We would put a skid in the back of that, the 1-ton, to use for any wildland fires that we would do either in town or out of town, or even non-emergent or lesser emergent calls that we would do. The funding for this vehicle would come out of the Northern Fire Response, and I do list in here that generated in excess of $757,000, and that's after expenses. So it was over 850,000 is what my total bill was. So after wages and everything else, this is what was injected into our fleet account. So we also did have a meeting with the Humboldt and District Fire Protection Association with this vehicle, and they were in full support that they would be willing to go with a partnership and with the city of Humboldt. The addition of the second CSO vehicle, initially at the time when we were looking at the second CSO, we're hoping that we could use one vehicle for both. We have since found that I don't think it's going to work as good as we hoped. The second CSO is actually working better than we hoped. And by having him contracted out of the city 2 days a week, leaves our CSO without a vehicle for 2 days a week. So by sole sourcing this vehicle, Humboldt Ambulance recently purchased Lanigan Ambulance Services, and with it came 2 SUVs that they don't need. So they approached us and said, do you guys would you be interested in buying one of these SUVs? I've looked at them both, I've driven them both, and they are a very good use for a CSO vehicle. I think it's got just over 50,000 kilometers on it. It hasn't been used hardly at all, and it's available immediately. All the equipment that we have on our current CSO vehicle that is used by Justin can get transferred over to this other vehicle. So it's not that we don't have to purchase the new equipment, it's just a matter of transferring it over to another vehicle. So the fleet account, I guess under the financial implications, we contribute about $80,000 for the replacement of our protective services fleet, which is our frontline fire trucks, command trucks, as well as CSO vehicles and the safety coordinator vehicle. The new 1-ton would be in addition to our fleet that we would have, which would add a little bit of a cost moving forward, but hopefully extending the life of our 11. And also the CSO vehicle with an expected cost of $35,000 plus about $10,000 of equipment to get that up to date would be also added to our fleet for future budgeting. So if there's any questions, I feel free to answer them.
Okay, questions? Go ahead, Councillor Scott.
I think in terms of the 1-ton, to me, that makes like really good sense. With respect to the CSO second vehicle, though, I just wondered about the wording. In the report, it says the second CSO vehicle will be used by CSO and by law enforcement within Humboldt and up to 2 days per week to meet our contract commitments. Are we not firmly committed 2 days a week? Like, because it's saying up to, or is that something that's variable?
Well, we do have it firm 2 days a week, but we do have an extended like in the contract, we can do extra time if they want to pay for it.
So there'd be a minimum then.
Minimum 2 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I worded it.
Yeah, no, good. And then in terms of like is there an obligation then, or are those communities then contributing to some of this cost as well?
Well, that's part of the contract that we have with them is to provide the service.
So we will be recovering some cost?
Yeah, like we've got a contract with both Watson and Lanigan. That's, I think, I believe our $25,000 a year contract.
Yeah, the calculation for what to charge for Watson and Lanigan did include a contribution to the vehicle that would be utilized. Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Rowe.
First of all, Chief Kwasnika, appreciate how you're forward thinking and seeking to leverage assets while minimizing the cost to taxpayers, at least in the short term there. As with Ms. Scott's comment, I certainly see this utility vehicle as being a good idea. I'm not sure how old you are. Do you remember the show Emergency! Exclamation mark?
I actually do.
And is it a similar vehicle or is it larger?
Well, it would be a regular 1-ton vehicle with just a box. Yeah.
Okay. A little levity there.
Yeah. But I do remember that.
Yes. Just the storage and garaging. Sorry, there's lots of room for this.
There's
vehicle?
enough room.
Okay.
It's getting a little tight, but
Okay,
we do have
that's what I was
it.
wondering. Okay, so we won't need a new building as well.
That's next year.
Okay. And then with the CSO vehicle, given that the second CSO is a kind of a pilot program, and I'm just wondering what the plan might be for a second CSO vehicle if we revert to one full-time equivalent with a CSO officer. Is there something that you've thought about there, or would we sell that vehicle, keep both around?
Well, we're hoping to expand the CSO program in the future. That's the whole goal.
Okay.
And I think we can show that the program is successful. And my anticipation is that we are going to grow the program.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Simpson.
Comment that I was going to make.
I think
That's
somebody
fair.
needs to shut their mic off. Sorry, go ahead.
That was the comment that I was going to
You're
make
good.
in terms of I can see the program expanding and that we need to look at strategic planning in terms of, what's going to be happening 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Personally, I can see we have us having a larger contingency of just 2 CSOs. So I think it's wise that we are looking at the purchase of a second vehicle. And then do we have surrounding RMs who are also going to be contracting services? And now we have a vehicle that we need 5 days a week.
Yeah. Uh, Any other questions? I have a couple if anybody else, we're good. I had a similar question about expansion of other, not only RMs, but other communities that may be looking to keep this or utilize the service that we had talked about with our presenter here today. It's one of those things where unfortunately, with the availability of RCMP in the province, not only in Humboldt but in other communities, that it's one of those things where you have to look at other alternatives, I guess. And a cost of a CSO officer is a lot less than an RCMP officer, and if they can fill in some of these needs that we don't require to have a full-time RCMP looking after them, I think in the long run, we're going to save taxpayers money. And if we can pick up a few more municipalities to help us cover some of the costs of these people and vehicles, I think that's a bonus.
So I just wanted to comment on the ride along this morning. Sure opened my eyes in terms of the policing that's happening. I mean, going to a home, and our CSOs have exceptional people skills in dealing with a very difficult situation in terms of their yard cleanup, in terms of people living in their vehicle on the yard. We have plans in terms of expansion, and so I'm really excited about working with you in terms of those plans.
I am in discussions with 2 more communities that have shown interest, so I don't know if we can commit until we have resources that we can provide, but at least they're coming to us and wondering what we can do to help them.
Okay. Further questions? I had a couple of, if you can clarify a couple of points on the financing. You mentioned the money from the northern firefighting. So $100,000 for the fire truck. We're going to be utilizing the equipment we loaded on our Works and Utilities vehicle to go up there. And is there an additional tank to go on it then, or is it just moving that equipment onto this new vehicle?
We actually got the donation from Global Medic that we're going to be putting that skid onto.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the Global Medic one. Okay. So 50% is from the rural on this as well.
Yes.
And so that's not going to come out of this money.
Well, part of the money that we got from our engine that's up there, because of the ownership of the engine, is a 70-30 split. So they're getting part of the proceeds of.
Okay, and they will turn that around to this then. Okay, so then that rural will still have some money in the bank to use for other projects that we're jointly funding then, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay. And the CSO vehicle will be drawn out of, how is that going to affect the budget? Like, we haven't budgeted for this, obviously. Is that coming out of this funding then as well? Or
my fleet account.
Your fleet account, that's going to all come out of there. Okay. Yeah, you did mention that, I guess.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that typically new purchases are funded through your capital budget at budget time, and then the fleet reserve pays for the replacements after that. We have this one-time occurrence where it kind of giving protective services the opportunity to kind of leapfrog that process and purchase this one sole source vehicle upfront, as opposed to going through the typical budgeting process, which would have been a taxpayer funded purchase if it went through that process.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Councilor Rowe.
I did have one more question, but I wanted Mr. Macheski to have a chance. So Mr. Kwasnica, you mentioned that this fire department utility vehicle will say wear and tear on R11J. What's the state of the necessity of replacing that vehicle? And if we have roughly 600 and whatever, and 100,000 and change available from this Northern Fire account, do you feel comfortable with being able to replace that vehicle on time? And I guess that's really 2 questions. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, you bet. So R11J is our rescue unit, the big rescue unit that goes to virtually every call. That one is an estimated replacement cost, like I say, of 1.5 million. The estimated replacement date that we've put on that is about 2040. So we're hoping to extend the life of that as long as possible. With the not taking it out into summer follow fields and gravel roads, I think we can extend the life of that vehicle. The next one that we have is our ladder truck, which is L11. And that one's about a $2.3 million replacement cost. We hope to extend that one a few more years after that, but working with the finance department, I think we actually have a really good fleet reserve looking forward. So
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Just to add, that vehicle, that rescue unit was purchased used back in the day. So we did get a pretty good price on that one when we originally bought it. So when the time comes, maybe we can beat the bushes and find something again. You never know.
In 2040, it won't be me.
It won't be you and it won't be us. But hopefully somebody will be looking out as good as our past people have been doing. So yes. Okay. So I think we've had this chance for discussion here. Any further questions? Okay. We have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. So the next one is a recommendation from the Director of Cultural Services on the Humboldt Museum repairs tender. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder that the city accept the revised times and material contract from, that's Brixton Masonry for the Humboldt Museum repairs project for a maximum of $91,500, including the rental of a 80-foot lift to complete the project. So mover and seconder, please. Councillor Jorgensen, seconder, Councillor Rowe. Okay, go ahead, Director.
Thank you very much. So the report is before you, and I'll just give you a little background. So we identified that the exterior of the building, we're seeing some water infiltration. We're concerned about what that's doing. It's coming in from the parts of the third floor roof, primarily through metalwork and masonry. And I mean, you can just have a look at the building from the sidewalk and see where it's really causing damage in that masonry and bricks that have been damaged, discolored, or quite frankly, aren't there anymore. So we did ask Brad Taylor of JCK Engineering to look at a proposal, and that went, of course, to budget to City Council for approval. So we have $60,000 in that repair, and then in that repair budget. And then we were successful in a grant from the Saskatchewan Heritage Foundation of up to $48,000 for a total of 108. So we did do, we had specifications and detailed drawings sent out, and the project was for selective masonry work. So really identified areas that we wanted the work done on, selective metal work of the flashing and eaves trough, and then roof work on not just the metal roofing, but also the 3 levels of flat roofs. So we did get that public tender out on July 24th and a closing date of August 14th. So at the close of the tenders, the city did receive 1 bid from Brixton Masonry. That isn't a typo, for a total cost of $261,960, taxes in. So we're quite confident in that contractor. They have extensive experience in heritage buildings, and I've listed some recent projects that they've done in Regina. So of course, that type of number, we had to go back and take a second look. And so what we did, and we looked at several options with the consultant, and the Leisure Services Director, Mike Ulrichsen, was in on those conversations to look at whether we go out again in 2026, whether we revise the scope and what can we do to kind of move the project forward in a timely manner. So we did, and our consultant did recommend that we do proceed this fall rather than waiting into 26 when we're not confident that prices will actually come down. So we did decide to change the scope of the work, and then decided to change the approach. So it's a time and materials contract rather than a fixed price. So what we did is we kept in the majority of the masonry repairs. That was, and we've got a masonry company that's bidding the metalwork on the flashing, and it's really where you see the metalwork of the eaves troughs and the gutters and those downspouts where they're attaching to the masonry. And of course, Brad Taylor, our consultant, was up in the lift and has very detailed photos of where those gaps are, and you can just see where that water is going to run down. And then what we pulled from the contract was we were only doing a temporary repair of all 3 roofs. So it's not a complete fix of those roofs, but a temporary. So we pulled the main floor and the second floor roofs, and we're only going to hopefully do part of that 3rd floor roof. And then the big thing that we pulled is the slanted roof. So if you look at the slanted roof, there's something called a standing seam. So it's an actual seam that looks like that. And part of the contract was to look at all the standing seams, assess them all, and fix them all. So, you know, that was where that real risk was. Is that going to be 1 day? Is that going to be 2 weeks? So we did pull that from the contract as well. So our recommendation is that we proceed this way. It will involve doing a weekly update from the contractor so we can see how much work is getting done. We can adjust the budget as necessary to stay within the budget, you know, that we have. So you'll see the overall kind of budget that we have for the project, including the consulting fees and some contingency, you know, to stay within that $108,000. We realize that pulling that roof work is unfortunate, but we also know that the Leisure Services Director is doing a report on all city roofs, and I think that will come back to council in the future as we look at what the council would like to do with municipal roofs overall. And hopefully, again, by extending it and phasing it, there is options to come back to the Saskatchewan Heritage Foundation and other places like that for further grants. So that is kind of the process we'd like to take. We've got the contractor who could start right away in September, and hoping for some fair weather that we could get some work done on this project and be good stewards of the building. So I will answer any questions you may have.
Questions for the director? I had 1 or 2 here that being as this is a 2-year project, is that what I'm hearing, that we're going to be doing some more of it next year then? Would it, I don't know, maybe this is just me thinking, but would it not make more sense to fix all the water problems before we work on the masonry, you know, to get that solved, I guess, before we start fixing bricks and then find out it's going to leak on them? And in 5 years, we're going to have the same issue again if it, or I don't know, I was just thinking out loud here, but I know usually you try to get rid of the water, because I'm assuming the bricks are wrecked because the water gets into them and then they freeze and explode during the winter, and then that type of thing. So I don't know, maybe give it some of your thought process on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the problem that I'm really seeing is on the 3rd floor, and you can see it coming in the walls. Like you can see the paint and the inside is pulling away. So that is still the goal, to do a temporary sealant on partially of that 3rd floor roof where we're seeing that worst water infiltration, because we have tried to chase this in the attic. You can't, you know, to chase where this leak is coming from. Just because it's coming down over here doesn't mean it's not coming in on the other side. So we're going to try to still do that temporary seal at the 3rd floor. And then what we're seeing is that water is rushing down. So the slanted roof, I don't believe is actually, because that water comes down a slanted roof, the rain comes down pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right. But it's where it's hitting the gutters, and you can see where the flashing is actually pulling away, that it's then coming down. So the gutters aren't doing their job because that water is streaming down the front of the brick. Right. So in order to fix the gutters and fix that metalwork, you know, and I should have maybe included the photos where you can see the gap between the gutter and the masonry, where that water is just pooling down the brick. So it is our intent to kind of do what you're asking, but kind of do it in a different way. So
okay,
it's tricky.
And I noticed in their proposal that they had a bit of a disclaimer about materials, and they'll try to do their best, I guess, to match what's there. Do you anticipate any difficulty like that? I think that's just a common red brick on there, is it not? Or are they going to be able to match the brick, and are they going to be able to like that flashing? It looks like, I think it's been painted several times, and is it going to look similar to what we have?
Yeah, that is our intent. I mean, when you get into masonry, that's the concern. I mean, it's you know, our contractor has hatched out exactly which bricks he would like to have removed. You don't know once you get up there what you're going to get into. That's certainly a risk that we have. What they do a lot of times is if the face of that brick is in bad shape, but the backside is in good shape, they're gonna flip that brick and try to do it. It is tough to match. We have had repointing and masonry done before.
Yeah.
So we did it in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you can see it's not exactly, I mean, it's hard to match exactly, but we will try to
Okay.
try to
And
get
it's
as
3
close as
floors
we
up.
can.
It probably
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Any further questions? I think we're good. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That's, thank you. Okay. Inquiry. Any inquiries for staff? Counselor Serbacheski?
So I just have a couple. So there have been concerns about, particularly on by the Dairy Queen, that vehicles will see the yellow light and then speed up and then go through the red light. So there were questions raised about the possibility of red light cameras at that intersection.
To be honest, I've never looked into red light cameras, and I think it's a fairly big setup going up, if I'm not mistaken, from bigger centers. Something I could look into and advise another day.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just a thought on that is if you could, yeah, just get some at least ballparks on it and whether it's covered through that SGI grant program or not, or is that only for crossing lights and stuff like that? I don't know. And there is a revenue stream as well because you're giving out tickets. So I don't know if that's something that, but from what I understand, a lot of the ticket enforcement money goes back to the program and it doesn't come to the municipality because I've heard other mayors complaining that they don't get any of that revenue. It just goes all back into the program, even though they're ticketing their own residents. But they're maybe do some investigation into that as well then.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly comprehensive involvement when you're getting into red light camera systems. And I am actually aware of some communities that are going away from it too. So yeah, I have to look into it a bit more.
Go ahead. You have another one?
Actually, you touched on it already.
Yeah.
The pedestrian controlled crosswalk from heading north towards Wateridge Park, that there were questions raised about, are we looking at perhaps having one of those installed, which we will have to be looking at something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably speak to that. I know it has been brought up in the past. It's always a question of exactly where, because there's not really, we can't find a place where there's pedestrian generation. Like,
it's a lack of sidewalks, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Purpose,
Which is
like
true, yeah,
point
yeah.
of destination
Yeah,
purpose.
yeah.
Like typically we put them like where we have them right now is at several schools where there's a lot of pedestrians that are crossing at those two locations. Right now over on the east side, there really isn't, like we've never been able to define or see exactly where pedestrians are crossing and why. If it's recreational walking, if it's destination bound because they're either going to work or going to school or something like that. That's always been the challenge. So
Yeah.
if there is an educational facility, perhaps it'll generate more pedestrian traffic and we can maybe define exactly where people are trying to cross, besides the side.
Well, and I'm thinking it maybe a little bit, is that an actual dedicated trail? If Mike was here, he might be able to answer this, but between Coil Tech and the cemetery, there's that. It used to be the rail line, I think, at one time, but is that a designated trail? Is that a pedestrian walkway? But then on the north side, it just goes to the golf course road. It doesn't really, I mean, you could maybe connect it to the trail that we put in through the bush there, and maybe that's, but again, this probably is going to tie into the educational facility. I think that would maybe be the thing that we'd have to, that might be the final straw, I guess, to see if we can do something there. But
Yeah, I can't necessarily speak to the trail. That would be a community and leisure services director question. But we typically work together on anything that is related to pedestrian connectivity, trails and sidewalks. So we can have that conversation.
so maybe we could look at some options there and see if it's worthwhile, and we may be a little ahead of the jumping the gun until we know what's going to happen with that facility there and go from there. So.
That's what I was gonna say, is that perhaps we're going a little bit too far ahead, and that's
Yeah.
something we'll look at.
Yeah.
Down the road.
Yeah.
And then the last one, actually, can you comment in terms of, there have been some people saying it would be great to have a crosswalk painted to commemorate the veterans. And
Yes.
Can you?
Yeah,
address that?
and I did put that out. I know there was some people on social media, and I know other communities are doing it. And I know I did run it by the president of the Legion, and not that they're opposed to it, but I think they just need somebody to maybe spearhead it from the Legion, I think, because these projects are generally community driven and not really a city thing, as with the Pride sidewalk. And, you know, it's done by volunteers, and they go out and collect their donations for paint and whatnot. So I think it's one of those things that I think it would be a nice addition. I think they're kind of doing their banners right now, and I think once that project is maybe wrapped up, they may consider doing this. But is it something I think this is probably should be community driven, maybe, and have them come to us with their suggestions, I guess. But I think we should be leading the issue, I guess. So, yeah. So I'll put it out there again to them, and I talk to them once Chase CA starts back up again. So anyway, any other inquiries? Okay. We have a portion for committee of whole at the meeting. So just thanks to everybody watching on live stream. We're going to be going in camera here now for the next portion of the meeting. So thank you for joining. Look for a mover and a seconder to go into committee of the whole, please. Councillor Scott, Councillor Cordy, all in favor? All in favor? That's carried. We're good.